It gets real weird when it's 3 a.m. in the Arctic Circle in Norway, and I've got a 6'2" shirtless Russian crying, drinking vodka that could take the paint off your car, just like, and then we went in and tattooed the day after. I moved to Savannah, Georgia right when I turned 18 and went to Savannah College of Art and Design and dropped out about a month and a half in and got a bar job because that was way more fun. And I started meeting people with tattoos. Like where I grew up, it wasn't off the wall, you weren't getting it. The concept of custom tattooing didn't exist. You never saw a portfolio. I just thought that's what tattooing was. And then I made it to Savannah, and I'll remember the tattoo forever. This dude had a forearm tattoo that was a nerd with fly wings, with 6 eyes, with a remote control powering a robot fighting Godzilla wrapped around his forearm, and I could fucking ding dong. I'm talking to him like, yo, what wall did you pick that off of? And he's like, what the hell is wrong with you? And he set me up at a shop, and I went over there and talked to a dude and got my first custom tattoo and had a real good experience. Guy was telling me about how he traveled and does all this. I'm like, wait, so I can kind of be a dirtbag, but I can do artwork, I can meet people, and I can see the world, and still it'll kind of just buff out on its own. Like, people like won't put me in jail and it'll be cool, right? Then I started working counters for free and asking questions, and that led to an apprenticeship or two. I started out as a very lovable trash person, and you know, tattooing is what led to discipline. You know, I used to have an old routine when friends who I used to party with would invite me out where, you know, I'd show up and grab a beer and go in the bathroom and dump it out and top it off with water, because if you got a beer in your hand, no one's trying to give you shit. I'm like, I got shit to do when I get home. I gotta be at the shop. Like, you know, I had a day job, my apprenticeship was unpaid, so it was working in the morning, getting to the shop, there till midnight, go home, go to sleep, repeat, but still trying to maintain a social life with that. So, you know, tattooing gave me discipline. When I was around like 30, 31, I just lived on airplanes. You know, I'd do one spot, meet somebody, they would tell me about this other shop in this other part of Europe or somewhere else, and I didn't have anything tying me back. I was, you know, single. I worked at a shop that I had a little bit of freedom at. At one point, I dipped for about a month and a half and was like, yeah, we're doing a convention in New Zealand. I might as well work my way around the world the other way. And hit maybe like 6 or 7 cities in Europe, cut down over to New Zealand, did a convention with those guys down there, took off to Japan from there. And that really was probably my favorite, because I lived out of a backpack and a carry-on suitcase through multiple hemispheres in different seasons, and met shit tons of people who were incredible, who welcomed me in, and I learned to say cheers in like 9 different languages. But when it was all over with, I made it to Japan and actually got to go to, we were in Osaka and we walked past 3 tides, and I was like, yeah, like I want to get a Tepori tattoo when I'm here. Like, I don't, like 15 years ago, I never thought that this would even be a potential reality. And like, it was a pretty pinnacle high point in my career of like, I don't want to say that idea that you made it, but like, from like, I don't know, living out of a car, jumping between 2 tattoo shops, you know, 13 years earlier, and now like, I'm in Japan, and like, most of these spots I was invited to. You travel that much and you meet that many tattooers, it kind of gets silly to start being picky on what you think is right and wrong, because I'm meeting people who are incredibly talented that I have no idea how to wrap my head around what they do. You know, I drank with a really incredibly talented, scary as shit Russian when I was working in Norway, who at the time there was some political things with Russia, and he challenged me to a drinking contest at dinner, and I was like, it's on, this is for America. And it gets real weird when it's 3 a.m. in the Arctic Circle in Norway, and I've got a 6'2" shirtless Russian crying, drinking vodka that could take the paint off your car, just like, and then we went in and tattooed the day after. So again, like I got into tattooing around like 2003. pre-social media. Like I think MySpace became a thing that year. Every tattooer I met, when I did, like, they all had sleeves. They all had, like, you know, they were covered, but also like, I don't know, man, like I want to be a tattooer, I gotta look like a tattoo, I gotta look credible. I was like 19, I'm like, I want to be tattooed. That being said, you sometimes get some tattoos to make sure you get the coverage, and back to the world of social media opening up later, I was like, fuck, there's so many good tattooers, and I'm like getting tattooed by this guy. So by the time I was 21, like I had, you know, half sleeves. I had a half sleeve started that was built onto by a coworker that I didn't like what we had to begin with. It was like, well, I got this, so let's just put a bunch of other shit, maybe no one will notice this. And it kind of compromised everything. And years later, I'm meeting people with good tattoos, and I'm finally meeting the tattooers I looked up to and seeing all these quality work. I'm like, man, I got a lot of shit in the way. I decided I had a full sleeve that I was just sick of looking at. The guy who did the sleeve was a guy who helped me a lot and taught me a lot. He did a great job, but at the end of the day, like, we're working around something that I didn't like to begin with. So me and Mike started working on my arm. It was full sleeve, equally as saturated as what I have now. Full coverage, and we started a process of lasering, of doing 36 individual laser treatments over 5 years. It sucked, but it was awesome. You know, like we chipped away on it. More laser removal we got done, the easier the treatments got as the pigment broke down. But at some point I need to be like, well, I can cover it. Like, I just spent 5 years getting rid of this thing. Like, who am I gonna get covered up by? And there's a guy over in Malmo, Sweden named Peter Lagergren, who was like my tattoo Instagram wet dream every day of like, do you see what I did this week? Like, this is insane. And I'm like, oh, I want to get tattooed by him. It'd be so cool if I can get tattooed by him. And around that point, I was spending a lot of time tattooing up in Norway. And Malmo and Norway aren't that terrible a flight from one another. So I took a shot, and I shot him an email and was like, so I'm getting a whole sleeve removed. It's about here. I was curious if he'd be interested in covering it up. Sent him some pictures. He's like, it looks like you need some more treatment, but yeah, we can see what we can do. I actually missed his first booking cycle, which sucked because of the time change. So he opened his books at a particular time, and I missed it, and his book for the year filled up that quick. And I was like, so I caught up with him a little bit the year later. So it was a 2-year wait, and I got in, and I'm just like, we'll just keep lasering it. It was pretty light, but we still opted to shoot it a few more times just to make the load a little bit easier for Peter. Went in, we did 2 8-hour days back to back. I walked in at 9 a.m. the first day of my session. We saw a couple loose drawings, and we tattooed for 8 hours straight. Went back the day after, did another full 8-hour day. Packed up, got on a plane, flew up to Norway. I worked for a week, got back on the plane, flew back for 3 days, 1 day to land, 2 days to get tattooed, 2 8-hour days back to back. Got on a plane, flew over to Dublin, worked over in Temple Bar for a week. Got back on a plane, flew over, did 2 8-hour days back to back. So we did 48 hours of tattooing in 3 weeks, with little to no breaks in between. And then when we finished the arm, we bandaged it from wrist to shoulder, flew home the day after, and had the worst sausage arm on the planet. But we banged out what, you know, is still probably one of the most impressive tattoos I've ever, I get a lot of compliments on, like, it's a cover-up. Well, where's the cover? I'm like, the whole arm. Well, how do you do that? I'm like, 5 years of laser removal. They're like, why would you do that? I'm like, because I have the best arm ever now. A lot of people come in, similar situations to me. They wanted to get heavily tattooed younger before they were, had the financial means or the resources or the knowledge to know what they really want. Now they're older, they have, better resources and whatnot, and they want to get a tattoo over it. I'm like, you're kind of gonna have to get what you can get. You have something you already hate, and now you're gonna get something that when it's covered, you're gonna have the ability to maybe say at best, it's better than what I have, or it's good enough. You already had something you hated, that you had to live with, that you had to sit through, deal with, and stare at, and now you're like, good enough is fine. And it's just easier to be like, if you don't like it, it takes some patience, you're not gonna get the instant gratification you want, go get it lasered. It's rough, it does hurt, I don't sugarcoat it, I'm not gonna tell people it doesn't hurt. but it's fast. You've been through worse. If you stub your toe, it hurts longer than getting laser removal. You've had sunburn before, you'll be all right. It just opens up so much more options to get what you want as opposed to getting what you can do and having to compromise when it's gonna be on you forever. You gotta look at this shit. You already hate your fucking tattoo. Like, you want me to cover it up. Like, I'll be a jerk, but like, I have awesome tattoos now. These, like, this thing rules. I look at this, I got like a super gnarly story behind it. I didn't just walk in and give someone money and get what I want. Like, I kinda had to earn this one. If you're on the fence, just, why do you wanna keep looking at it? Quit wasting time. Shoot it one time, see how it goes. Even one treatment might help with it. You can break down some of the denser pigments, it's gonna help. I do tattoos. I'm sending people to a place that gets rid of them. Like, and people look at me like, why do you care about tattoo removal if you do them? Like, because it makes my job easier. It makes my job so much easier. And also, if you're already filled up, I can't tattoo you anymore. You laser it, I get to make more money, you get to do more tattoos, we all get to have more fun. It's awesome. I'm Brain DiCola and I tattoo out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.